We'll get started then. So welcome to our third Going Private webinar. So we have two already, one on facility owners, one on coaches or subcontractors, and this one's talking about the money and finances, because the last two, pretty much finance seem to be popping up as a regular topic. So why not actually talk about it? So we're going to start just getting to know who we are again. But first of all, if you're not talking, can you just chuck yourself on mute? And then when I ask for you to speak, then we'll jump on. Unless you want to interject from someone else, and then we'll go from there. But let's start from Matt. So can you tell us who you are, what business you run, and your experience in the industry a little bit?
Oh, okay. So I own a business called Hammer Athletic in East Brisbane. I've been doing coaching for 15 years now, so it's I'm old. So I've got a bachelor and my master's in strength and conditioning. We just finished my level 3. Yes, Kurt, I got accepted. I've done the level 3. Yay!
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. It fucking takes such a time-consuming ridiculousness. Anyway, I got that done just recently. So so I've worked with mainly a lot of sports, but I used to play soccer, and we have a lot of football or soccer related clients, but we've got rugby league, all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, we also service the general pop. That's kind of what helps pay the money, and a fair bit of personal training. We've got exercise physiologists in our group as well. So we've got a little mixture. So my little facility is about 350 square meters. It's got so we have a full class timetable for guys who just want to do high intensity interval training and all that sort of stuff. And then we also have we have a thing called group strength, where we have, say, 6-to-1 strength sessions with coaches. Then we have normal PT, we have exercise physiology, we have long-term athlete development membership, we have open gym. But like I said, we're only a little family-run business, so we only have, like, me and my wife who are there, and the boys, the 3 permanents that I have, and a couple of casuals. So that's how we run our little facility. We have 130 members most when we include everyone. So it's very tiny. But when I started this facility, that's exactly what I wanted. I left a big Globo gym to do this because I couldn't handle the CrossFit path that they were going down, or the body for the masses, the 1,000 members sort of stuff, which is fine for that kind of model, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. The guy I was with went up into that sort of level, and when I initially signed with him, we were a tiny little gym, and I really liked that. So I moved and did my own thing into this sort of spectrum. And then, so that's just how we've kind of evolved from there. So it's really the best thing I thought with us is that because it is kind of only 300 square meters, it's a 2-floor sort of system. It's got a close proximity, gets a really good culture. A lot of intermingling with members and trainers and coaches. Everyone knows everyone. It's actually we have a really good retention, but at the same time, we don't have massive money to get heaps of people in. But that's perfect as well. So ours is more of a word of mouth and small advertising. But we get there. Like I said, we don't. I don't drive around in a Porsche or anything, but I can sleep better at night with our model, because I think our model's one of the best ones, because I think our service is the highest. And I think there's, as you'll find, the service-based ones like ourselves, hopefully, are the ones that just survive such a shit time, because I think Globo gyms are the ones that will lose because everything's leased or there's no personality. So the fact that we survive such a shit time, even though with like my balls on a string for a while there, but we did survive, and it's because of the community that we've based. So that's the type of general that we've had. That's my facility, and my experience is that I've trained with the Brisbane Roar, been overseas with international soccer teams, all that sort of stuff. But other than that, who gives a shit about my resume with that respect? Everyone's trained athletes, so that's my little bio, I guess, of our facility and how long I've been in it. So there you go.
Nice, thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
We'll jump on to Tim.
Hey guys, I'm not sure if you can hear me. It's hammering it down here, so I'm actually glad we're doing this, because I turned down the round of golf, so it's it's nice and dry in here. I'm just looking out there, so we're actually situated on a golf course, so it's just on his back door.
Tough life.
Yeah, it's a tough one. So my name is Tim. I'm the owner and manager of Inside Out Health Club on the Gold Coast. We're situated in Parkwood. We've been operating for about 3.5 years now. I'm not a trainer myself, but I've just started on that journey under the guidance of Kurt. So it's exciting times. We are a commercial gym. We're of a mid-size. We're about 700 square meters, and we have approximately probably 750 members. Yeah, we run a similar model. We have PTs that obviously take their clients from within inside out, and they also take the group fitness classes as well. I've come from a rugby league background, and again, which is where I met Kurt. And then obviously we've carried on that relationship from there. He's helped me a lot with the business and setting up with the guidance. So that's been very much appreciated. Yeah, obviously that's this place in a nutshell.
Great, thanks, Tim. And although we've had Corey and Zoe on before, we're going to introduce them again because obviously it's a new webinar. So Corey, a little bit of background here.
Yeah, I'll try and keep it short and sharp. So obviously owner of Athletic Institute, started 5.5 years ago. My background's always been sort of playing footy myself, and then, bachelor's degree, master's degree. Actually, me and Maddie did our masters, I think, together and back in 2013, I think I want to say.
Did you go to ECU?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. So I must have been a year before you then.
I think you were.
It was 8 years ago.
There you go, 8 years ago. Yeah, so I guess from there, my goal was obviously like an assistant S&C coach at West Perth Footy Club, working with athletes on the side, all the volunteering stuff at Waste and, Freo Dockers, and did part of my degree in Canada, which is sort of where I wanted to, that was probably the epiphany moment of wanting to work with athletes. Came back, working in the waffle system. There was just too many guys to coach at one time in a crappy facility. The ability to teach and educate guys and lift properly was, very limited. So I wanted to create a space where we could educate guys from the age of sort of 10 years old. So by the time they get to the waffle level and whatever sport they play, they were ready to go. They were athletes who actually, they could move, they could run, they could jump, they had strength. So we basically created a facility. Now we're in the process of building a 500 square meter facility, which will, house like an altitude room, recovery center. We work with the Australian Federal Police, do all their testing. They're obviously based in Canberra, but we do all their Perth-based testing for them. We have school education programs where we go out to sort of 4 or 5 schools throughout the year and run S&C programs, swim teams, amateur footy teams. We sort of do a wide range of things. Our specialty and our niche would be the youth athletic development program, where we get kids in from the age of 10 to sort of 18, and any sport they play, essentially it's, they're humans first and then they're athletes second. So we're just looking after the holistic approach of, sleep, nutrition, mobility, strength. We just sort of, I guess, educate them in that regard. And have that long-term sort of approach to performance. And when you see kids in your program for sort of 2, 3, 4 years, from the age of 11 to sort of 14, these guys are very competent in what they do. And our goal is just to have better moving kids and stronger athletes for the future. So that's us in a nutshell. So
awesome. Do you deal with Jeremy Robinson from AFP or no?
No. So I mean, I have like a liaison through the AFP. She just organises all the sessions, cool. At the moment we go to an external facility and run the testing sessions there. But the new facility that I'm building, we'll be able to house the testing sessions in house because we're going to have about 160 square meters of turf space to run everything. So
sweet, nice. Alrighty, and Zoe, last time you could talk about Muscle Nerds, but now you can talk about something new as well.
Yeah, so I'm Zoe. I'm co-owner with my husband Luke of Muscle Nerds, which is predominantly an education. It started as an education company, evolved into an online training company. So we do online education, in-person education, which has been obviously put on hold for a while, and online training. We brought a gym 5 days before they were forced to close in Brisbane here. So we reopened obviously 1st of June. Now we've got 43 members. We brought it with 96 and it was really shit though, because obviously we had zero relationship with any of the members. So it was so easy for them to just cancel their membership when COVID hit. We did offer, we offered services, but because they didn't know us from a bar of soap, it was just, no, just stop it. So we've slowly got them coming back. Similar as Matt, we just want a really small service-based gym. We're still kind of figuring out how we're going to structure it. It's a 24/7 gym. It's really small. It's like 170 square meters or something like that. And when I was talking to the members after COVID, all of them were saying that they liked it because it was small, it was quiet, it was non-intimidating. So we kind of want to try and keep that. So we'll cap members at some point. We're just going to kind of manage it and see how it goes. So yeah, we're still figuring out how we're going to structure everything. But at the moment, our priority is just to get the member base, the 24/7 member base, up to cover its costs, and then we'll figure out how much time and energy we want to invest in it ourselves. Because obviously, Muscle Nerds like our main money maker. As such, I don't think this gym is ever going to be like wildly profitable. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell. I've been a trainer, I think 2012 or 2013. I'm 3 years into my naturopathy studies, but I put them on hold when COVID hit because we pay for that. I pay for that out of pocket. Being a Kiwi citizen, I don't get help. So I just pulled out when COVID hit because I was like, I'm not forking out like $5,000 this semester when I don't know how we're going to be affected. So I'll probably jump back into school maybe in the early next year when I've got the gym sorted and finances are back on order. And it is me in a nutshell.
Nice. And I think basically, because you used to run a facility over in was it Morningside or was it through boot camp?
I used to work there. I didn't run it. That's where I was.
Okay.
I was working out of there when I was studying my Cert 3 and 4. So I was just working for Boot Camps Australia doing the outdoor training, and then they got a studio, which means I could then learn the personal training side of things. But we also have a small, I always forget this, we have a small clinic in Balloomba where we had a manual therapist work out of there. But obviously we had to, unfortunately, let him go when COVID hit. So now we've just got a space we've got to figure out what we want to do with.
Yeah, nice. And fun enough, so pretty much apart from Corey, so I've known of Corey for a while, but haven't actually met Corey in person, but I knew Tim through rugby league. I know Zoe through originally Bonnie and Renee because they worked for you. And I know Matt because we did the level 3 together, but I've known him about him since before then. So as a coach in this industry, you kind of get to know a lot of people around, and so I know all different kinds of people around Australia. So it's awesome to see the diversity here. And before we even crack into questions, like everyone here seems to be a service-based facility, and as much as Tim is a mid-range commercial gym, every time we go down there is not a member that walks in that he doesn't know the name of or doesn't have a chat to. So despite having 700 and something members, every single time is like, hey, how you doing? Have a chat. And I mean, I hate it because he takes away time from me chatting to him, but
that's something we certainly try to offer. I believe Matt touched on that, is having that personal touch and having that relationship with them. And I've said from day one, it's very easy to leave 4 walls, but it's not easy to leave, or you don't want to leave a community that you enjoy being around. And obviously, we have members from 14 years old all the way through to retirees, and they're all on their own different journey. And it's good to be amongst that and help them along the way.
It's so important to have that service though, because like I think if your main demographic is general population, like we all know how hard it is for a struggle to people to start coming into the gym. And if you can make it as non-intimidating and as friendly and as enjoyable as you can for them to come in, and they look forward to coming and seeing you and seeing other members and having some fun, like it's so important as a business owner or even an employee in a gym, I think, to do that.
Yeah, well, let's be honest. Like, we can talk about how we train athletes all you want, but they pay shit, right? So there's no money in athletes. It's unless you're one of the fucking 12 who've got a job and they're already the guys who are ahead of us who've been doing it for a fraction longer. We might be next qualifier, but it's who you know. So we've got, if you can't massage the needs of the public sector, then don't bother opening a gym. So whatever your morals are when it comes to, I just want to train fucking Usain Bolt, it's a waste of time then, is it? So those guys, you know, it's a reality. So we've got to try and train your general pop and then make that work. And there's nothing wrong with putting your ethics onto the general population. Like I train, and our boys train the general population exactly the way they train athletes. athletes are bigger whingers than general pop, and you can probably get more out of them. So it doesn't mean you can't hone your techniques if you're a coach of us. And sometimes you look down upon because you aren't training, some AFL team or some NRL team or a soccer team just because you are in a gym owner or whatever. Right? I take my 3 staff and myself and do a professional team any day of the week. I think we can do it without even batting an eyelid. So that's why it's so important to have that service. First of all, that's what brings it back. If you don't have that, then there's no point. But secondly, it's a really great tool to hone your skills as a coach, regardless. So if you can't deal with the general pop, then you're in the wrong business.
Yeah, look, just to sort of touch on that as well, one of my mentors who I've sort of worked with throughout the years has been in the AFL system, in the rugby system as well. And one thing he sort of taught to me was, obviously it's such a volatile industry, and a new head coach can bring in his new S&C team. So the number one thing he sort of taught me was make sure your business is always there in the background if you want to go professional, because if at some point you get moved on because of a new head coach, even though you're probably doing your job, that business in the background is going to be what sort of keeps you moving forward above all else. And like training professionals is great, and we've got professional athletes at our facility, and they're the off-season guys. We've got a couple of pros who are full-time who train with us, but that's the fun stuff. But like Matty said, like the Gen Pop, they're the people who keep the business running. They're the ones who are there week in and week out. And the athletes, for me, are great fun to train. And I've got 5-6 staff who can do the general population now. I've had my time with that, but they're the most important people. And as sort of Tim said, and knowing your members is what is the most important thing. What I've learned in business is it's all about relationships. Like, it doesn't matter like how many degrees you have on the wall. If you don't relate to your clients, you don't know them, whether they're, Betty who's 70 or, Johnny who's 15, you need to build rapport with those guys. And like during COVID, in the toughest time we've ever sort of been in, that's where we're going to flourish, because we're not a commercial gym. We know our members. And most of our members supported us. And we had about 170 odd members prior to COVID. We lost probably just over 50%. But now they're all sort of returning back. So that personal touch is great. But if you're looking at going to professional, bear in mind it's volatile. And sort of, I guess, one of the questions in here is, do you have an exit strategy? I decided to pull out of going to professional sport probably 2 or 3 years ago and put my energy into this. And just sort of work semi-pro level with like a waffle club, because I can do both. I can have my waffle club and I can have my business, and it's just a great sort of mix. It's a good base.
Classic. That was a good one. You got to have a basis to work with. Otherwise, there's 2 ways of going in this industry. You sacrifice millions of hours being a work experienced guy and finally getting your teeth into an assistant cone picker-upper, and then pick up until you get to an fucking S&C. Then maybe you get a job. So, for instance, perfect example with you, Corey. Me and the boys, actually, we had the contract with the Raw, met all our KPIs. We got to the semi-finals. Great year. Because my boss had a row with the Aloisis at the time. All of us got fired for no reason. We did nothing wrong. Met all our KPIs, all these things that we did, and then you're off you go. So that's just the way it is. So the perfect thing about that is that they came to us as a business. We already had the business set up, and that's what allows us to leech off. But if you want to be the other way, and this is where too many of those kids who come out of uni think, oh, fuck yeah, there's 16,500 graduates last year. Like, I'm going to work with professional sport. Well, you've got fuck all chance. First of all, you got to do all your sacrifice, which is fine as long as then I completely encourage that. Then you got to get a lucky break, and then you still might be kicked out. So for absolutely nothing you might do. So there's always diversify your income early. So there's nothing wrong with personal training, building up a culture, building up a business, and then going in. So the great thing about Hammer was I had a foundation, and you could then explore other avenues of the things that you want to do. So absolutely. And then by doing that, you also hone your skills by being a PT. There's nothing wrong with doing that first. You know what I mean? So.
And I'll add to that, Matt. So, because it's funny, and you'd probably see a little bit here and there, because I know so many people that go to the Brisbane Raw and as students, but even as professionals, and they just don't pay their staff, their S&C staff. So
A-League's awful. The A-League's
awful.
Absolutely,
yeah. And so everyone that is pretty much doing some sort of work, like the physio that I work with, his receptionist who was studying physio suddenly got a chance to do some work experience. Now they're using him as the rehab guy, and he's not even experienced yet.
We could have a seminar on the failings of the Brisbane Roar and how much there was some shit that went on. We didn't get paid for 3 months, but we're not going to get into that because
absolutely.
A lot of good guys there. But and saying I learned, you learn lots, and it gave me like opportunities. I went to, this is another random thing. Was with Guam, the international soccer team, but I travelled all over Asia and played against China. We played all these things in front of full stadiums, and that was pretty cool. Like, if I didn't do what I was doing there, I would never have got there. But also the way I got to the Raw is I did, just like what Corey is with Waffle, you go down to the semi-professional teams, which is where I think that's where most of our boys, all of our boys have got an affiliation with some semi-professional team now, even though, and this is the real thing that, I don't know if we talk about this later, but is trying to get cash-strapped clubs to pay for proper S&C, because we've got to change that culture of people trying to pay. Oh yeah, come in and there's so many injuries in semi-professional clubs because they just don't have the money. So we designed a little bit of a different way to apply it, where I give the coaches a really simple, basic thing. We give them like a 3 or 4 base tutorial where we take the team, and then they just have to follow that throughout the year. Keep it simple, and at least they like getting the MAS done, Nordics, just simple shit like that. That will hopefully reduce injuries, so they don't have to pay an SC coach every week. So because a lot of teams take the piss, so you've got to innovate a bit as well. So to like with Zoe, when you start this business, mate, your business model will change 17 times in the next 17 weeks. No joking.
I'm fine with it. Like when we last had this call, who was it that was on here? And he was like, I had everything planned out. We had client avatars made up. And I was like, how though? So when we grew Muscle Nerds, we were just really reactive to what people wanted, and we based it around what people were asking for. And we'll probably do something really similar with the gym. It's just, we'll find out who we tend to attract, find out what they want, give them that, and then just.
We had an ethos first. We kind of kept that, and then I think I've done full circle. What I really initially wanted to start up was like, fuck, we don't have enough people to do it. And then now you forget about it, you get wound up in the normal stuff of just surviving. And then suddenly we've got to a point where we've kind of come back to how to leverage hours. So you'll get that. The biggest thing that I'll say is to try and leverage your hour for as much money as you can. And that's the only way to survive. Yeah.
And before we start cracking on with the questions, which we've got a little distracted, but I think it's all still relative to finance right now. And what I was saying is, I spoke to Dan Baker about a few things a couple of years ago about like moving into professional leagues and stuff like that. And even Dan said it'll take at least 10 years to even get an opportunity at a high level club. And even then, you generally need to have some sort of in. And then in addition to that, like Matt said, about who you know, about who knows you, like if you look at an example, I think perfect example of how volatile the industry can be is Alex Corvo worked at Warriors, Storm, Broncos, High Performance. He decided to accept a position at Wavell as a teacher. Like, if that doesn't say how damaging the professional industry can be, he's been at the top of the game and he decided to actually teach at Wavell and run their high performance programs there. So
you also get 8 weeks holiday.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd fucking be a teacher any day.
Sounds super political though.
Yeah,
absolutely it is. And like, as an example again, like, so I work and consult with the institutes, QAS, AIS, NSWIS. And when I was actually trying to get into those institutes more, like, it doesn't matter that I already worked with them. I worked with their talent ID. I worked with their athletes. I actually talked to them weekly with their coaches, and you put an application in and you don't even get an interview, and that's someone who already works with them. And then you realize it's just one of the partners' wives that got the position, and you're like, what? So yeah, it's so political, and it's a kind of messed up at times. But anyway, we're gonna get cracking on to just cut down some actual base information. We could probably just chat for the next 2 hours on this kind of stuff, just about the industry itself.
2 days.
Exactly. Yeah.
Don't get me started on this fucking industry. And
I'll
be on.
In 2 weeks, I have a webinar with Dan Baker, Lockie Wilmot, Kelly Behan, and
I really just Lockie Wilmot. So just ask you. Tell him I said that. Get off fucking.
There's a reason why I haven't got Matt and Lockie in the same webinar yet.
Unbelievable. Loves it.
Yeah. So and that's going to be on the actual industry itself, and the money and remuneration in the industry a little bit. So that's going to be an interesting one. But in regards to private, we're going to start just really simple. And we'll start with Corey on this one. Like, what streams of income do you have, or what different types of streams of income do you have in your actual business?
Yeah, look, so for me, we obviously do exercise physiology as well. But our main thing is like I'll semi-private groups with the youth program and like the general population program. So where we have sort of like 10 to 15 people in a class paying a weekly membership. We include obviously all their programming. All their programming is individual to what they sort of need. So that's our main sort of revenue. I think my model changed after about, because I wanted a facility where no one trained without supervision. I was like, you're not training without a coach watching you because you don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to move. We need to screen you first. And I quickly realized after about 2 years, like we were just surviving, and I had to sort of lower my standards to a little bit and have an open membership. To me, like having an open membership was like, it was a flawed model because we couldn't control every variable. But to run a successful business, we need to have that money coming in weekly where you're not servicing a coach for that particular time. But everyone still gets tested. Everyone still gets their programs on their phones, and they've got videos now of how to do it. So our model has changed, and the open membership now creates a buffer for us, which generates some income. And obviously we do not personal training, but obviously private-based coaching sessions. So we've got a number of revenue streams, and obviously the Waffle Football Club brings in a lot of revenue for us. Like we're the only facility in WA that runs the entire club. So we run league, reserves, Colts, development, futures. We run all those. So there's like 300 athletes sort of across the year that we sort of work with. And obviously every time an off season comes along, we want those guys to come into the private facility. During the year, they don't pay as an athlete during the season, but obviously off season, it's on them to come and look after their own performance measures. So they pay whether they pay like a coaching one-on-one, or it's an open membership and they're paying for programs, updates and so forth. So our revenue stream is primarily the youth programs, the team-based stuff, and obviously just the open memberships I think open memberships is massive. I think once again, we're probably one of the only ones at Perth that open all day for a private facility. A lot of them sort of open till 11. They'll shut down from like 11 till 3. Then they'll open up 3 till sort of 8. So for us, we were open sort of 5:30, 5:45 till 7:30, 8 p.m. at night. So, and that way we can generate some open membership revenues. And the new facility will have, sort of key tags for members to come in and train on the weekends and stuff as well. So they've got sort of everyday access as well. So, yeah.
Awesome. And do you have like extra types of stuff like apparel or proteins or anything like that? Or
yeah, so look, we stock Body Science. We stock obviously the most research ones like your creatines, your isolates, those sorts of things.
ASAT or approved ones.
Yeah, all the HACCP approved for obviously athletes. So a lot of guys are at competitive levels, so they need to make sure they're taking HACCP approved supplements. We obviously have merchandise. That's been another sort of look. That's another thing, I guess, from a finance point of view. Like you might make an extra 5 to 10 grand a year just on selling merchandise. And if you can do that, then that's 5 to 10 grand towards a business. Supplements aren't a massive money maker, but if you make another 5 to 10 grand a year just off that alone, and that's obviously helping support a coach's wage or those sorts of things. But yeah, definitely they've sort of evolved over the years. They weren't there the first 3 years. They sort of developed the last sort of couple, and now that we've got sort of 170 members sort of in-house, and look, we use Train Heroic as a programming app, and we've got something like 600 athletes or 600 people on that app that we sort of program for. So we've got a lot of external clients as well through teams and other facilities. We actually program, how crazy is this? We run a strength and conditioning program in another facility. So they hire us to go to their facility and we run their strength and conditioning program. I think that's pretty cool. And it's
very a great stream of income.
Yeah, and that's real humble from both owners that I can go into another facility, which is based on, it's a fight gym. And our staff wear our own uniforms in their facility, run classes for them because they saw that they weren't running proper classes and they wanted proper strength coaches to run them. And that's awesome from that owner.
Way too big for that.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of guys will not be able to do that. So that's pretty cool.
No, that's really well done.
Awesome. Well, while Matt's unmuted, what kind of streams of income do you have, Matt, for Hammer
None.
Athletic?
We have no income. That's the problem. No, our income. So, like, we'll break this down. Ours is relatively complicated. So, we have exercise physiology guys who do their exercise phys stuff that are done with the private health and Medicare, all that sort of stuff. So, we have Chris and Jamie, who are both qualified exercise phys. They do a lot of that and their normal personal training. Dan, our other coach, also does a lot of personal training, but they all then do. We have our full class times. I think we have about 11 classes a week to our general members, and we also have an open gym time. Unlike Corey, we don't open all day. We're 5:30 to 11, and then from 3 to 7:30. We have a long-term athlete development membership for kids from 12 to 18. We have about 15. Nothing crazy, but it's just enough that we do that 3 times a week as well in the afternoon. So that's our 3 different members. Then we have 2 other different memberships we call Gold and Silver. Gold, at the moment, this is pre-COVID, so at the moment we're not really running at this sort of stuff, but we have Gold, which is where you have 3 strength sessions a week that we periodize every 6 weeks or every 4 weeks. We do a testing on one of those weeks is like our deload, and we progress that throughout every 6 weeks. Use Team Builder as our app, and which also doubles up as our online stuff. So everyone in our gym has Team Builder, and they'll do either, even if you're a PT client, you have to do your second session they have to go use Team Builder as that's all their programming. So our Gold members will have 3 strength sessions where you have to book in for, say, maximum of 6, because I think after 6 you get it gets a bit yucky, you can't control it. And then once there's one coach for 6, and then they'll have that. And then our Silver members will have 2 strength sessions a week at $66 a week, and our Golds are $99 a week. So what we can then do is then you leverage your hour. But for the member, if you think about it, it's $26 plus your normal class. They also get access to everything at the gym plus 3 strength sessions for, say, $28. If you break it down, it's not too bad. You know what I mean? So, but if they don't turn up, then it's money for us as well. So it's just all about. That's how we try to leverage our hours a bit. But we also have our strength and conditioning section where we're in control of the Queensland referees. So Chris and Dan go out and do that now, which I used to do. Jamie does the Brisbane Strikers down here, and Chris also does one of the women's teams. Dan was doing Rochelle. So we've got all these packages out where we do semi-professional clubs, and that's another little arm of our business. So we have S&C part, which is that where we can branch out and do the things we kind of enjoy. Well, no, we enjoy all of it, but the things that you kind of do that you did your study for. We do have normal PT for the guys just want to get, anyone who wants to just get better and healthier, fitter. We have our young ones. We have our normal people who come to the gym. And then, so we try to cover all bases within a format that we all I can live with, instead of having to doing 35 people in one, doing CrossFit snatches for 50 and then running around the block. So we try and do it where it's safe, but yeah, stuff that we believe in. But yeah, so that's our thing in a nutshell. Yeah.
Were you just making reference to some other sort of training method there, Matt?
No. I'm a big fan.
Of course, yeah. And just for anyone listening, where are you based currently versus your actual facility?
I'm a little bit away, just Townsville at the moment. Well, my family moved up, so my wife and kids come up. So we've got my wife. We are going to start a childcare centre, which is much more money than anything else. But it's not my childcare centre yet. But her parents own one, so we're doing the transition. We're about to buy it and move in that way. So it's
in your house, a childcare centre.
She's working, and I moved up here with the fam, and I'm travelling to and fro. But then now I've been stuck here, so.
Your house is pretty much a childcare centre, isn't it? How many kids you got?
Did you not see the door open? That was my daughter coming in. So I've just locked it off. She's a little 1-year-old. She's a fucking psycho. So honestly, at the moment, I could adopt her out like that.
All right. Well, before we get into adoption strategies, we'll jump over to Zoe.
Sorry, just unmuted myself. So Muscle Nerds, our education company, is our money maker. The gym is not making fucking anything, and it's actually, I'm taking notes while all of you guys are talking, because I'm like, how are we going to do this? But we're lucky that Muscle Nerds can float it, so we're in a position to take our time with that. But so with Muscle Nerds, our target markets are the coaches and health professionals. So my partner Luke, he teaches like biochem anatomy, all the stuff trainers should know but don't know, and kind of how it's relevant to their job and how to use it in their role. Because you do learn that stuff somewhat in your Cert 3 and 4, but it's not really taught how it's applicable or how you're going to relate it to training your client. We have, with our education there, we have an online program design course, which is $4,000 if paid up front, $4,500 if they go on a payment plan. And it's a 10-week online course. And at the moment we have 3 intakes a year, January, June, and October. We're going to increase that to 4 intakes next year, just so we can obviously have more chance at selling more spots. We then have an in-person 3-day foundation course, which Luke travels the world to teach. It sounds far more exotic than it is. So we hold them in America, Europe, like the Asia countries, sometimes Middle East, Australia, New Zealand. That obviously is
I love how you said the Asia countries. That narrows it down. Yeah, just the Asia countries. Just this Asia.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had to cut it out.
No, you're right. So
Just the Asia countries.
I was talking to someone the other day, and they were like, "Oh, like the Asian lady," and I was like, "She's Indian," and it would have been Luke, and he was like, "Indians are Asians," and I was like, "Yeah, but you don't fucking describe an Indian as an Asian, like you say Indian." Anyway, I don't know.
Chinese at the moment, it's kind of a battle. So
I don't know if being descripted is now being. I don't know what the lines are with that. So I think we should just say the brown-haired lady, but that will probably be on PC sometime soon too. Anyway. So then we have the in-person stuff. Obviously, we put that on hold for a while. That's not a huge money maker. We usually make a few grand. I mean, like maybe like 10 grand off per course, but we like it, and it builds that community, and it gets us out there in front of people, and it's really nice to meet students. That online stuff is great, but it's just like, it's just not the same as kind of building that tight-knit community. And then
did you guys I swear I see you guys actually have dinners with your students sometimes as well. So
yeah, Luke always at the end of it, like say it's a 3-day course. At the end of the first day, he'll go out and he'll challenge them all to like drinking competition.
I think Matt's going to be onto that competition.
That
course
soon.
Yeah.
Our first and second year.
You and Luke
doing alcohol and equipment.
We do that, and that's the thing. It's like it's the whole reason we do it is because we want people to be better. We want people, like the industry, to be better. We love we're just building the best community. The way we teach is not here's a system, here's step A, step B, step C. Go off and do that with all your clients. It'll work for 70%, the 30%, don't worry about them. It's almost like we try and teach them the underlying factors in physiology and how things work, so they can pick and choose, okay, this person needs this, that person needs that. Because we teach like that, and they actually have to think, it's hard work, it's investment in time and energy and money, we're only attracting really, really, really good people. So we want to spend time with them, right? And then we have private education. So that's if you want one-on-one with Luke. That's kind of like our most expensive, obviously, because it's time is money. But we have quite a few people. Before COVID, we were doing in-home mentorship. So people could come out and stay for 5 days, 7 nights. One-on-one with Luke, full days, train with Luke, eat with Luke. Normal camera, can you don't sleep with Luke? Learn with Luke.
Sorry, how much is that one? I'll do it.
For you. So that's our education with Muscle Nerds, and then we also have 2 full-time coaches that we employ, and they do online training. So I think at the moment when COVID hit, I know Shane, he had 40 clients, and that dropped down. I think at the moment they've both got between 25 and 30 clients. So we did pretty good throughout the COVID situation. When it hit, I was like, because our target markets are the trainers, I was like, we're fucked. Like, everyone's going to stop training, if no one's going to spend money. But it was actually the opposite. People were like, oh, I've got time, I'm going to invest in this. And so we were really, really lucky. But I feel like now that they're all going back to work, I think we're going to have a lot of drop off now. So our COVID hit is going to be delayed. Then we had the clinic in Balloomba, where we just had a manual therapist run out of there. We, as mentioned, let him go, so he's now working for himself. That wasn't a moneymaker at all. I think we're in the hole from that clinic. And now we've brought the gym, which we're in the hole for that as well. But we'll hopefully get that up, just like I said, covering its costs and seeing what we want to do with it.
Very nice. And before we run into Tim, I'm pretty sure everyone could probably agree with it. It takes like anywhere between 3 and 5 years to actually get in the green, doesn't it?
Oh, no, nonsense. I'm not even there yet. I'm doing a 6 year, still shitting myself.
You know what? They're like the
I was going to say, I've had it 6 years and still fucked. No, like
5 years. I've got my profit and loss right here. We're going to talk numbers. We'll talk numbers.
You know, Corey, before I was going through the questions and they were like, what are your main expenses? I was like, how do I find them? I was like, Googling how to read profit and loss. What is it about?
This is my zero. If you don't have zero,
I do.
Yeah, zero
is fantastic.
And someone understands it like my wife. Yeah.
Yeah. So you need to know.
That was free through COVID too, so that was an expense usually. But
our gym though, buying the gym was a really smart move. Like a week before COVID hit, because the setup that it is this. We saw this chick selling a gym. She's like, selling my gym for 20 grand, and we're like, why the fuck is she selling the gym for 20 grand? So it looks like, just inquire. So we inquired, but basically what the setup was is the guy who owns the building set the gym up, owns all the equipment. She was basically just running her PT out of there. She'd pay him one lump sum every month, and it covered everything: the lease of the building, the lease of the equipment, the power, the internet. He covered insurance, everything. And so we were like, you're not actually selling anything, like not 20 grand. She came back to us months later, so we dropped the price to 18. We offered her 10. Took it. So we brought it in for 10 grand, leasing everything. And we pay $830 a week. At the end of our 3-year lease, we equipment. So we need 56 members to cover costs. So it was like a no-brainer at the start. It was like, this is. And it had been totally neglected. She was selling it because she moved away. So for like 5 months, unstaffed, not even cleaned. And so we're like at its lowest point with zero attention. It's covering its costs. Like all
$800 a week.
So good.
Yeah,
if only.
Yeah, I know. So it was like a no-brainer, right? We were like, yeah, absolutely. And then it's not the best equipment. It's not the worst equipment.
Who cares? $800 a week.
I know.
That's unbelievable.
That includes power. Like
that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Mute her.
Can I buy it? My overheads.
He's not part of this conversation. Mute her. Fuck off. $800 is like a month of fucking electricity. Yeah.
Yeah. So talking overheads, my overheads are 16 grand a month. So that's my base. That's my base cost of like subscriptions, insurance, rent, like you name it. 16 grand a month is a minimum. That's
when I go into Muscle Nerds, like our overheads are pretty fucking big there. So that's where all our business is. As for the gym, it was a no-brainer. With Muscle Nerds, it's a completely different story.
It's the biggest problem is trying to make how do you pay your staff, how do you cover rent, and then all the other things, and then keep the good staff.
And what services we want to offer. Yeah, that's what we'll just kind of wing that, I think.
Yeah, you do. You're fucking oath you will. Just have, as long as you have I like whatever plans you have, I think as long as you have a belief system.
Yeah, we've got
how you want to train and don't delve too far away. I fucked up straight up. I wish I didn't have a soul and just like really went for the masses.
Yeah.
But now we've set up the way we set up. It's listen, we've got a great community, but geez, it makes fuck all. So like I said, it's if we went bigger, with size comes expenses. So Tim would probably know that. Obviously, with 700 square meters, would be a small fortune just to get that place, put the lights on. You know what I mean? Like I've got 300 square meters, and I pay $8,000 and a bit a month in rent. So it's $2,100 a week.
Yeah.
Just to get over it, and then I've got to pay. So the way I don't know if we're skipping questions here, Kurt, but fuck you anyway. So it's I've taken over. So the way I've done our staff is because I've come from the commercial gym where I was on a rent-based system. You're competing against each other, and I hated that. I hated the fact, even though you were mates, some of them are mates, some of you are not mates. I hated to be on the floor where there's a potential where someone could be wording up your client and fucking them off. You know what I mean? So, and the other thing I hated the whole time I was on the commercial, I had no security, I had no superannuation, no holiday pay. Nothing. So then when I started our gym up, I said that's something I wanted to get rid of. So the boys that I've got, they're not getting paid $88 an hour or $99 an hour like you charge yourself out, because that's all a fake anyway. Because
you don't think that.
Yeah, if you charge yourself out at $99 an hour, you got to take your tax out. Yeah. No one ever takes that. Your student, no one ever takes out your holidays. So it's basically $35 anyway, right? Yeah. So I'll pay my lads their wages, and they get they're on permanent part-time. So they have a minimum every week of 20 hours permanent part-time. So through COVID, these this is where I was so worried, is that I wanted to make sure that they stayed on and got at least 20. That I had to pay them 20 hours a week, and I wasn't making any money. So we got there in the end because we had such a great community. We had enough to keep paying them. So the way I structured our business is that, yeah, the issue with us is that, okay, my wages are way too high. My accountant says that all the time, but at the same time, I wouldn't get the 3 boys that I have without having this. And they would probably sit there and argue, well, fuck you, Matt. It's not even that much. I could earn 100 hours. But if you want to earn $100 an hour, take out 50 to 60 to 70 stuff. Yeah, so you've got to take all the stuff out. So my cream initially was me working. So I would do 30 clients a week, and I'm at the point where I fucking hate PT. So I've done it for too long. So I wanted to phase myself out and let the boys do it. So at the moment, I've got a gym which has been running for six years, and it's just paying for itself because I'm not working as a PT anymore. So which is a great thing. Like, that's something now, it kind of self-services itself. But yeah, if you include, where I've done mine, there's no cream because of the fact I'm not working. So it all depends on how you want to do it. I think.
We're definitely higher though, because our standard is really fucking high, and I feel like if you contract, you don't have as much control.
No, and I'm a big believer of having staff, and I'd like to think we treat them okay. Like, we're good mates. We get on the piss together. We used to have meetings that were on the piss. All that, not even that. When they'll have money, I'll give it to them. It's just as long as you have that sort of stuff is the big thing. But overheads, it just all depends. If you're working within the business where you're training, then you'll make money. But you've got to get to a point where I'm a 26-year-old. I can't do 5:30 training people anymore. I just can't do it anymore. But I can go in and do a class here and there. I can go and take a football team. I enjoy that, you know what I mean? But I just don't think I can do the one-on-one grind anymore because I've been doing it for so long. So you've got, and luckily I'm in a position now where I've done it for 6 years. I can kind of just peel away and do that. And if anyone knows, like you guys know, how fucking the life of the business is, people who are personal trainers, 1 to 2 years, because split shifts kill you. It fucking.
Let's drop down to our 6 month of the life as a PT.
Yeah, so it kills you. So the fact, if anyone can last as over 5 years, you've got to start thinking, what the fuck am I doing? You know what I mean? Because it also can be, I can work at a 7-Eleven because there's no what scale I'm not going up in level. You're just working the same shit every day. You could be doing all the education you want, but as a professional, I'm not becoming a manager. I'm not becoming a CEO. I'm still training the same people, which is great, right? They're great people. But if you don't show growth, then what's the point, right? So thank God that's why it was one of the reasons why I started. I needed a legacy where you start a business and then you just let it, okay, then fuck, I can just get out of it and let it kind of do it itself. And then I've been trying to get these boys as well to have a think about that, where we have to have alternate streams of income. These boys will leave me, and they're probably planning to leave me. I can see Chris and Jamie, they're on there now planning to leave me as we talk. But I expect them to leave me, as they should. They shouldn't be wanting to be working underneath me for the rest of their lives. Or why don't they offer me and buy my place? Did you hear that, you two? No, but no. You know what I mean? But they should be looking to do things where they can either progress. So.
And I'll interject there for a second as well. Like,
see you later, Kurt. Anyway,
I won't say what coach this was, but we have business chats every now and then. And the story may come out at a later date when hopefully I get him on a webinar. But he was telling me that he could actually buy a laundromat, basically, laundromat dry cleaner that would earn more money than he does annually as a coach. And he's been in the industry. He is a master coach. And so he's been in the industry for like 20, 25 years. And he said he could just buy the laundromat dry cleaner down the road and he would make more money doing that than he would coaching. But he goes, right? He said, sorry?
The thing is, we don't do it for the money, right?
Exactly. And that's what he's saying. He's like, if he wanted to do it for the money as a business person, he would easily just buy the laundromat.
It's the wrong profession, man.
Yeah.
And just, like, for me, like,
it's like Matt said. Childcare.
Yeah.
Going off what Matt said, like when I started AI, I was doing 35 hours of coaching a week, like one-on-one clients to fund the business. And I literally sent an email to my staff yesterday. Now with launching the new facility, like I do like 6 hours a week of coaching now. Like I just don't have time to be on the floor in the battlegrounds, like week in or day in and day out doing that. I need to actually work on the business, not so much in the business.
Exactly.
And that's where the open membership now pays for my wage. So I get the open membership. I don't need to be on the floor, like you said, Matty, like doing the 25 hours a week, doing $100 an hour. And the staff don't realise, well, they probably realise now, but the working for yourself as a sole trader, I made a crap load of my money. Like I was making $2,500 a week, but I wasn't putting super away. I wasn't putting any tax away. I was doing the exact same thing as you. I wanted to start a company so that I could actually do what I love doing, have a holiday at the end of the year, get super, and actually start to enjoy the split shifts. I used to do there's a couple of times there for about 2 or 3 years, I was doing 11 hours of one-on-one clients a day, 2 or 3 days a week. And you just get to the point now, right?
Yeah, so I was doing 44-hour, 1-hour sessions at my commercial gym. I'll never forget that. And I had because I was so fucking disorganized, I'd have $50 here, $80 there. Because he was a mate, he was $30. And then when my wife came in, who just did her MBA, she's like, "What the fuck is this?" And then she made, and then because I had all my own little accounts for gambling and all this sort of stuff, and then she came and ruined it all. And then I had to everyone's the same price, and then it was all
exactly the same. When I had my business, my biggest was I remember this was 73 hours of clients in that week, just of clients. It wasn't business stuff. So then I had to do business on top of that. That was a horrid week. That's what started my downfall of burning out to begin with. So learn the hard way. But we're going to give Tim a little bit of a talk here.
Who's Tim?
So this is why I was cautious about getting Matt on.
I'm happy to listen. Obviously, I was taking all that on board, and I'm especially interested in the laundromat. I'll get his number later. I do apologise, guys. I am actually at work, and we do reopen again in about 5 minutes. Again, as Kurt just said, I'm doing ridiculous hours at the moment, split shifts. I'm not a trainer as yet. Like I said, I'm going through that journey with Kurt.
He's just done his ASCA level 1, so he's he's going to be a good coach to look out for. So I've been hammering because I've been a coach to Tim for how long now, Tim? 8 years.
You're a shit teacher, Timmy. Sub up. I'm available.
He's just started coaching people, and he's good with people, so he gets people to change their attitudes pretty quickly. So that's a shout out to you, Tim. You do pretty well with that already, and you're not even a coach.
Appreciate that, mate. But and just to touch on what you guys were saying about working with professionals, I don't believe that is the aspiration of all coaches. I really enjoy being in the public Gen Pop arena. I enjoy getting to know people, and for me, it's them guys that you can take further. And obviously, I do believe they have a great appreciation for it as well. Now, we've just opened again from COVID. Is that echoey? So I'm just in, no?
It's all
good. Sorry. So we've just reopened again in stage 2 of again after COVID. So far, so good. Everybody's, we're getting a great retention rate. It's great to see everyone back in and keen to go again. We are doing staffed hours only. So usually we're open 17 hours a day from 5 a.m. all the way through till 10 p.m. At the moment, we're doing 5 till 10 and 2 till 7, hence why I'm going to reopen again very shortly. We've just started reopening. We're a debit-based system, and it's a membership base of same as anywhere. The longer you are, the cheaper it is. So we have an 18-month membership, a 12-month membership, and a no lock-in membership. We are a commercial gym we run, which I'm sure you guys have all been involved in, the rental-based system for the trainers. Pros and cons to everything, and obviously it's really important to have that close-knit team. And as Matt touched on, as much as you are teammates, you are running your own business, so it's a good balance for looking out for yourself and looking out for others as well.
I think at your size, you have to have a rent. I think, like when you're 750 square meters, you can't. I don't think you can do it our way. You know what I mean? So I think you have to be a rental system at that size. Yeah. So there's nothing wrong with it. Like you said, it's situational based. Yeah.
Pros and cons to everything, and I've certainly played around with other methods as well. We do have, and again, we like to work in, and we understand. We like to help the trainers out as well. As we know, is a great platform for them is taking the group fitness classes. That's going to give them the biggest audience to be in front of, and then also get to know the members, and they get know their personalities whilst taking it. We have a spin room, which is this funky room just to my right. And we have a group fitness studio. We do Pilates, and then we have a functional area as well.
Sure, it's a spin room.
Huh?
You sure it's a spin room?
It depends what day it is. It depends what day it is, or what time of day it is. So they're our main income streams. To go back to the original question, is this it's a membership based.
30 minutes ago, before Matt took over.
Teamwork, guys. Teamwork. You're doing great. Like Lauren and Hardy. They're two comedians. So that they're our main income stream. It's a membership-based system. Again, the trainers pay rent. Obviously, that's for them. That is, I think that's a really good way to do it, especially when they're getting started out. It's low overheads with a good return. Obviously, we do help push their business, but it is up to them to build.
And Tim, well. Can I? It's up to you if you want to disclose this kind of stuff. I know a bit about.
Check the question with Matt. Matt, can Kurt ask a question?
No, no. All right.
I'm leaving. See you guys.
So obviously, I know a bit about the finances and stuff, and it's up to you if you want to disclose, Tim. But as example, I roughly know how much you pay per month for your rent. But how much do your trainers pay in rent?
So you put the monetary value on it, it'd be $280 a week.
There you go. Which is pretty standard across the board for most gyms, right?
We actually say it a bit differently. So again, it's $250 and a group fitness class. Again, we put a monetary value on that. Plus, it's an audience for them to get in front of, to get to know people, and hopefully pick up some leads and clients. If they do take additional classes, then they can obviously reduce their rent that way as well. So it's a good balance.
And so you're not essentially specifically locked in as if there are other things done, then it's a easy arrangement of trade of services and value.
100%, yeah, it's got to work for everybody.
Absolutely. And because I know you've got to open soon as well, can you give us, I guess, a little bit of a rundown of like when you actually look at your finances? Obviously, you have a business partner, so you reevaluate this often, or?
Yeah, again, obviously, we have our plans. We have our financial plans. As we build, as we grow, it moves with it. So it is a moving beast, if you like. Obviously, we touched on that. You get 3 years in, and that's when you start to see the fruits, and you start to see some real progression. Our 3-month mark was probably March, when the whole world shut. So obviously, this is the unknown now. So obviously, like I said, we've got a great membership base. It's a great community. They're all coming back so far, and it's been really good to see. So this will be a really telling time.
And I know you probably have to duck off soon, like in a minute.
Hey guys.
Yeah, there you go. So the last question I'll ask you, but before because I know you have to duck off, is even though you're running a commercial facility, do you actually have an exit strategy like we were talking about before?
Yes, certainly do. Like there's always the possibility of a sale, but we also have, thinking positively, we also have that plan for expansion as well. We did have that expansion plan at year 5. Now we will reassess that. And like I said, it's certainly, we do have an exit strategy. I certainly don't want to press the go button on that anytime soon.
Yeah, nice. Do you have to duck off now?
Just about, mate. Yeah. So again,
I'll ask one more question until you actually have to cut off, and so Matt doesn't actually get a say for a bit. It must be hard for him to keep his mouth quiet, but when you actually are looking at your business, do you have, like Matt was talking about before and Corey were talking about, do you have like a rule of thumb value where you have to make a certain amount of money before you actually look at adding new overheads to your business? Or
yes and no. Look, we're always looking at, again, just to rewind on that, it's all about member experience. So we're always evaluating, is this the right thing for the member? Is it achievable? I think I said right in the beginning, there's things that you can achieve now, and there's some that go on, if you like, the wish list. So yes, we do have a pretty strict budget, but again, moving with the times, a lot's changed over 3 years, and so has our opinion and budget. So yeah, it's a moving target.
No, so pretty much it's pretty fluid, even though it's a commercial business set up. It's not kind of set in stone. It's always rock and
Being a
rolling.
commercial business, but it is family run, and it is a community based gym rather than your big commercial gyms. So we have that freedom where we can more free to listen to our members and take on board what they want.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'll jump to someone else, and if you have to duck off, feel free to duck off. If you want to stay on the call, then stay on the call.
I certainly would, but I am going to have to open the door and get them started. Thank you very much, guys. Anytime you want to continue any of these conversations, Kurt's got my details, so please feel free to reach out.
Just add him on Inside Out Health Club on Instagram and have a chat to him. So,
certainly.
Mate, nice to talk to you.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Cheers, Tim.
Bye.
Alrighty, back to the head speaker, Matt. No, we're actually
going
going
to go too soon, so I got a fucking school run.
That's right. I only intended this to be an hour, and then we got chatting, which is still around finances, just in a different way. So I will actually ask you guys the same question. Like, do you actually have a rule of thumb in regards to when you can add new overheads, or do you just kind of play it by ear? Like, how do you run that? And we'll actually start with Corey.
Yeah, look, I think for one rule of thumb that I've sort of learned is that your rent should be sort of less, ideally 10% or less than what your total revenue is. You don't want to overcapitalize on space. Like for us, if you're turning over 300 grand a year, your facility should be costing you less than sort of 10% of that. So roughly 30 grand a year for rent. So that's one of my rules of thumb that I try and follow. What was the original question?
Pretty much if you have a rule of thumb of when you add new overheads.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So look, for us, like like I said, it was about 16 grand a month just to run subscriptions, insurance, lease. So for us, 28 grand is like the number that we sort of need to pull in a month as a bare minimum. So once we sort of hit past that, that's when we start to look, okay, we're comfortable. Our initial investment was 100 grand worth of gear when we first started. So we're talking about in terms of like initial outlay, there was 3 business partners, including myself. So we outlaid 100 grand in terms of gear, systems, insurance, lots of stuff. And obviously we own all that now. And I'm the sole remaining director now. So once the loans and the expenses have been covered, then you start to look at your finances. So now we're making it, X amount of money profit a month. But for me, it was to get to the point where I could pay myself a wage, so a full-time wage within the business expenses, and then obviously start to earn the profit on top of that. So looking at adding in more overheads. So for us, like leasing new gear is obviously another overhead. So to use a new facility, for example, we're going to lease watt bikes. I think the only thing that's pretty much the only thing we're going to lease. We're going to purchase everything else. We're going to purchase your assault runners, the altitude room, all those sorts of things we're going to purchase. And then the additional leasing costs of like, a watt bike's like 4 grand. So cash flow, we're going to get a few of those. You're looking at 8 to 12 grand just for 3 bikes. So they're things that are going to go on to the leasing costs, and you're going to make sure that your overheads, inclusive of those, you can cover. And look, you only know that by having a budget. So look, me and my accountant, we've got a budget for the new facility, and we just go through what we can afford and what we can pay off. And it's pretty standard stuff. It's nothing crazy. But I think the first thing is don't overcapitalize initially. And that 10% rule of thumb for your facility in terms of space compared to your turnover is a pretty important one. And then obviously your initial investment, depending on how much capital you have, is dependent on how big you want to go.
I love how rational you are. Just 10%. There's no fucking way I spent 10% in the first 2 years. No, I must have spent millions.
Yeah. Well, look, it's all varied.
Oh, if I had my time again.
It's the goal.
I must have spent 140% of my business every year.
And I'll fill in a little bit from Tim, because we had a chat and he wanted to go through to see if some of his answers for the questions I was wanting to ask were okay. And so it was okay to answer a few things about finances, like setting up the health club was I think he said it's about $450,000 worth of equipment and $350,000 fit out. So which is quite solid for that kind of space. But he's also part of the Titans High Performance Center is right next door. So Gold Coast Titans and a jump center and a pool. And so it's an actual whole health facility attached to pretty much the golf club and that. So he does it right with the traffic around there. But when you look at that kind of stuff, when I was originally talking to him and looking at what they're looking to purchase in the space, we actually had a chat about limiting the amount of equipment he was going to purchase. And he had a couple of business partners, and one of his business partners being from England, because if you couldn't tell, he's from England, but he's been in Australia for a while, didn't like the fact that I said limit the equipment. And so they bought the equipment and couldn't fit it in. So they've actually got gear just sitting at the back that they don't use, and they're looking to sell. So, yeah, well, he's looking to sell a few things. So actually, yeah, Zoe, on top of that, I know you guys have a leg press already, but there's a clinic we're working with the USQ.
Graze Online.
and they might be looking to get rid of their leg press for like a very cheap price. Like they're looking to give it to us for free. So
you know what the problem is though? Like we have a gym, our home gym in our garage is full of Atlantis equipment. So it's really hard to then go to like a gym and have anything less.
Oh, absolutely. Calm down, geez. What are you, royalty? Why ain't no Atlantis equipment?
We're like, no, we got that real cheap too. There's a guy in Sydney selling everything. We got like
made in China.
10 pieces, like 18 grand, I think it was. We paid for like $80,000 worth of equipment if we got it here straight from Atlantis, and that we paid 18 for it.
Oh, wow.
But we just find the deals.
Yeah, and I think going back to like gear is important. Like I deal with companies obviously here in Australia, but I'm importing stuff from China as we speak. So I get all my flooring arrives next week, and all my gear arrives in probably 3 or 4 weeks' time. So if you think about investing in a facility, anyone who's listening to this, China is fantastic if you want to buy lots of gear for cheap. Obviously, try and support now try and support local business, obviously. But sometimes, like I can import a container, I can buy an assault runner, land it here for $2,000. With my own logo on it. If I want to buy one from here, I want to pay $7,000. So I can buy 3 for the price of 1. So that's just an example of trying to cut costs and obviously buying gear. And they're an asset to the business. Like, you know, we've spent probably $250,000 on gear probably since opening as a small private facility. They eventually become assets, obviously the depreciation value and so forth. But that's where you start to realize going back to Tim, like he paid $280 a week. You know, that's nothing if you're a good personal trainer. You outsource your own gear, your own insurance, your own rent. Yeah. So
plus you get all the
paying $330 making.
Yeah, you got all the contacts as well. You get access to the databases as a part of a gym. So there's all the positives if you're only paying $280 a week. So there's so many benefits at times to work in a commercial gym. But anyway, I'll jump over to Zoe before Matt gets another chat here.
I'm going to go soon. So.
Okay, I'll jump to you.
I can't speak. No, I'm kidding. Go to Matt.
Actually, Matt, yeah. So you've already kind of discussed your little exit strategy, but you wanted to move out of it and go into childcare.
No. Well, that's just another part of it. I'll still have the gym, but it's just an opportunity that we can't let go. So it's my wife's family business, so she's taking that on. I have no idea how to.
So what I will ask, I'll change the topic a little bit. So we're mixing around a little bit here. So when I put this on YouTube, I can't even link to our topics because they're all over the shop. But I think it's a great conversation to listen to anyway. So when you're actually setting up, were there any kind of fees that you kind of didn't realize initially, or when you set up, you're like, fuck, what the hell is that for? Like,
fucking oath.
Because like when I set up, I found out, I don't know what Perth has or Western Australia has, Corey, but like zoning fees. So if you're in
entertainment venue permit for the local council, horse shit, because you're covered under a sporting facility instead of a gym. You've got zoning. You've got to make sure you're MP3 and above. Town planning. I had to get this guy in for a wheelchair accessible fucking thing. I had to get, it was unbelievable. Like I had to pay $400 an hour for a wheelchair consultant to see him get his wheelchair in and out. And I've got no problems. We're on one floor. You can do it anyway. But I had to get him in to have a look. I had to buy a little rubber ramp. I had to buy the railings have to be this. My stairs are too far apart. All these sorts of things you have no idea about. You had to make sure that one of my mezzanines could handle the weight, so I had to get a structural engineer in. So it's all these little things I had no idea. Oh, cost of software, the things I made mistakes on, like, oh my God, like redoing my floor 58 times because of, okay, I think it looks good over there. Then when you realize the people, the way they're walking, it turns out to shit. So you have to redo it and pay more things. And I've probably redone my turf 4 or 5 times, and that's $2,500 to throw every time because I don't like it there anymore. It's wasting room. And we've done new tile. Like there's heaps and heaps of things. What else would there be? Lawyers, getting contracts sorted, insurance, accountants, all that sort of stuff that I had no fucking clue. 0 memberships. Like, I mean, I used to do things all handwritten until my wife did all that. So it's, thank God that she had an MBA and did all that stuff. Internet, so your website, social media stuff, all those sorts of things. There's heaps of costs that you wouldn't think about at the time. But you know what? Would I sit there and go, make sure you know all about them? Just fucking jump in with 2 feet and you'll work it out. Like, it's like having a kid.
A lot, right? Like, naivety is probably what gets you through the first couple of years.
Yeah, as long as you've got an idea, like I know, like Corey's like so rational. Like I was awful. That's probably why my business is way worse than his. But but the thing is, I'm a big fan. Like I just think, start your business up with a relative plan. That'll change anyway. You will constantly innovate. You'll constantly change them. The biggest thing I'll say to anyone is leverage your hour, but leverage your hour with the conscience. So I was always a believer where don't leverage your hours to 10 people and one coach and do strength stuff. It's too much. You've got to bring it down into a reasonable level where you can live with, but you could have to make more in that hour. So, and that's the only way I think a small private facility can work. And I think semi-private group sessions of strength is the only way to go, as long as you have really, really good staff to follow through with that. You can't be paying guys $25 an hour and chuck them on a fucking video screen of F45 and feed the masses. I just think at $66 a week, that's ridiculous when we can do that for the same sort of price and get a lot better out of it. So my thing with that is when it comes to all those little expenses, as long as you have a software in mind, but you have to talk to someone. I think if you're ever going to start something, talk to someone who's done it so they can give you software that they have used before, what's good, what's not, more personally, because that's more of a conversation than this here. Jump in, have an ethos, have a relative plan. Everything will change. Limited equipment, build as you go. I own my equipment now, which is really good. Like I did lease and bought it out, and now that's an expense that I don't have anymore. And that was like a bit of a hallmark for me. So, now we've got an asset. So there's so many things that I've made errors on, and like changing your floor spaces and silly bike purchases and things that didn't work, but fuck, that's what it is. And you only know that at the 5 and 6 year mark. Is it hugely profitable? No, but I've got 3 children. My wife didn't have to work that whole time while she worked. She did like the kids and the fact that she ran the back end of my business. So, and my kid's a psychopath, so she did a probably pretty hard job. So, in that sense, my business has been incredibly successful. But like I said, we're not starving. Is there a lot of stress? Fucking hope. Is there things that maybe sometimes I think I wish I did differently? Absolutely. Would I change the industry? Sometimes, absolutely, because sometimes this industry shits me when I see people in bikinis who earn fuckload more than I do. But you've got to stay true to the ethos, and I think that's something that's probably limited me into making more money. But at the same time, I go to bed night, so that would be my take-home note from anyone. And also try and negotiate a smaller fucking rent than I'm paying. So that was another one.
Well, when I was in Wilston, I was paying for because you got 300 square meters for how much per month?
Well, let's put this down: $96,000 a year with outgoings. I know. Okay, and when I first started,
close to the city though, right?
Yeah, I'm East Brisbane, so I'm literally I'm 2 k's away. So from
Matt, you love this. You love this. I've got a 500 square meter facility, paying $40,000 a year.
Yeah, well, so when I first started, our first this is something another thing I'll tell people is when
Tip
you
one is
read
for
your-
everyone is to negotiate, right, Matt?
Well, you don't know that when you first start. So
Yeah, exactly,
yeah. 6 years ago, I took my contract to guys who were in the business. My problem was I took them to people who own commercial, and they said that, and they were good friends of mine. I said, no, that's pretty standard, right? Because commercial contracts, commercial real estate is always in favour of the owner, where residential is actually more in favour of the person living there. It's because of the instability of having a business. So if you ever collapse, then they have that bond and they have a bit more collateral with, so it's really hard to get out of. And they said, no, that's all standard. It's all standard. And I never really looked at the thing that fucked me was the outgoings. So my outgoings was, okay, I pay $73,000. And if I'm, with all of our modeling, by fifth year, I'm going to be doing okay. I probably won't even have to work and we'll make 50, 60 grand where I'm just chilling out, like I can just, but it turns out that outgoings and the land taxes and all that, and I didn't read in section 48.2 that he could then put that on, you know what I mean? Like, who the fuck am I? I can hardly read. So, so now,
a master's degree.
That's right. So now we've gone from paying $5,800 to $8,052. So we're in our last year of our deal. So, and the good thing about COVID is that there's not a lot of business, there's not a lot of landowners out there. They'll be crying out for things like this. So if I either go to them and say, well, fuck no, I'm not paying what I was paying, either have this or have no one, or we go somewhere else. And there should be, now I can go into that conversation with a complete arrogance and say, this is what we want. This is how it's going to happen. I don't want any surprises. And that's something I've had to learn over 6 years. But in the first 2 or 3 years, I was actually almost more profitable than what I am now.
Matt,
So
you're an arrogance just don't
lesson
match.
No, I've got no arrogance. Just the thing is that I know everything. I'm just not arrogant.
So my new lease it's a 5-year deal. It's, like I said, 50 a year, including outgoings. The first 3 months are free. He's building the toilets for me.
Yeah,
He built the office for
I
me.
did 3 months free first, yeah. But then he put them on the end of my fucking lease. Unbelievable.
But that's, I think and obviously people don't factor in the bonds. You got to pay, I think it's $8,000 from out front bond.
20.
It's 20. But if you're going to start a facility, definitely speak to somebody who's done it before, because it cost me $300 to print two bits of paper at my local council to get the site plans.
Yeah.
How does it cost me $300 to print 2 copies of paper? How is that even a thing?
The council's the biggest steal ever. Don't even listen. Another seminar, Kurt, next week on council. I'll fucking own it. Yeah. I'll own it. So anyway, I'm going to go because my kids are here.
All good. Thanks for jumping on, Matt. So
sorry guys for hijacking the whole thing, but I'm way more exciting than Kurt. So
you got about an hour out of the hour and a half we've had so far. So
yeah,
good chat, Matty.
See you, guys. Nice to see you again, big man. Nice to see you, bro. See you guys.
And to add on to what Matt was saying about the council, things I found out were where I was in Wilston, we were kind of around the corner from the main road, so parallel to it, and we put an A-frame out on the main road. And then we got a call from the council less than 4 hours after we put it out going, hey, we've had a complaint. There's an A-frame out on the main street. You've got to pick that up. I was like, what's wrong with the A-frame up there? And he goes, you're only allowed an A-frame for your business 6 meters away from your front door. I was like, sorry, since when? He goes, look, usually people get away with it, but if there's a complaint, we have to follow it up. I go, all right, I'll go get it now. He goes, I don't really care when you get it. Just I'm sure we'll get a complaint. Just get it by the end of the day. Clearly he doesn't care, but apparently that's a rule in Brisbane City Council is you're not allowed to have an A-frame more than 6 meters away from your door.
How quick are they to action that complaint though? Any other requests you put through are like?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So and I'd actually probably put that to probably the business owner behind me. So I'm actually, when I had my studio, we had a gym behind us called Nuggets Thai Gym. It's a Thai boxing gym, well known. And so we were in front of that. And so it worked really well. We actually got a good relationship with them. And they moved. And then the owner for the land said, oh, we're looking to get this guy in there. What do you think? And I go, his name's Mr. PT. He's literally doing the same thing we are. Give us a few days, maybe a week, and we'll sort something out. 3 days later, we go back to him and go, look, we'll take that back property because it's obviously a competitor. Yeah, conflict of interest. Yeah. And he goes, I've already signed him up. I was like, are you serious? So you literally had a competitor on the same land and you're like, fuck. So yeah.
Two boys begin.
Yeah, exactly. So, there's so many mistakes you learn in business. And like Zoe, you said you bought a gym. Like I had 3 business partners to begin with. One was silent, investor kind of. He just gave us some money to get us started, and 2 others, which was one was going to do the finance, one was going to be manager, and I let them take control of choosing the place and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't really a place that I wanted to begin with, but I trusted them. When I asked them details about it, they hadn't even done anything, like research any information on demographics or anything. It was in a flood zone. And it flooded every year in that location. I was like, are you serious? Like I trusted them and we'd already signed a lease. I was like, fuck. So, and then when I was just about to buy, I bought a metabolic cart for $15,000. I just signed the contract. I hadn't paid for it yet, but month to month, just signed it, and we flooded. I was like, yeah.
Look, and that's one thing we made. One of the biggest mistakes we made was we had one of my business partners was studying at ECU at the time. We spent $18,000 on an EMG machine in our very first year of business, and I was like, that was the dumbest thing you could ever do. 18 grand you could spend like on so many bits of equipment, in operational costs. You could marketing like that piece of equipment. The return on investment was $0. So that was one of the biggest mistakes we made. And then going back to like the property stuff, like you need to research your property. For us, I don't need to be close to the city. We work on reputation, so we can go to industrial, which is where most people go now, and pay a lot lower rate than someone. So I know a guy who owns a gym, pretty same size as mine now, but he pays triple the rent because he's in a residential sort of business area. So the stress of that would just kill me, I reckon. The stress of this
all I did was 1 hour of research, and I brought up all these facts, and they're like, oh, we didn't know that. We didn't know that. I was like, how not? I trusted you guys to do this because you said you know what you're doing. I was like, sometimes. So in regards to previous conversations you've had, Corey, in regards to business partners, I've had some negative ones, but purchasing that metabolic cart, although we flooded, it took us 3 months to get insurance money back, but we still stayed open. And that actually gave us kind of the money to actually continue to stay open, because we just advertised it out to triathlon clubs and rowing clubs to get them in. And we just ran, we had a watt bike that lasted through the flood, and the rowing ergo you could throw off a roof and it's still
mate, that rowing, those concept twos, mate, I don't know, you could take them to war and they would come back still in like good nick and they're still
absolutely
work.
So I had that one, and that made us money because we ran VO2 max tests for people that they just love numbers, like the guys from corporate and stuff. And
what do you charge for what were you charging for your metabolic car sessions, for your VO2 max sessions, out of interest?
$90 is a deal. So
okay, obviously that takes about 45 minutes to run.
Yeah, because you got to do the setup, give them all the kind of paperwork and stuff like that. Yeah, so usually it's valued at 120 to 160. So if it was in at the university, we charge for 240 now. So but that concept too, it got flooded. Although the PM3 little monitor didn't work, I bought a new one for that, and I sold that concept too like 3 years later. Because it still worked as new. Like those things are awesome.
Yeah, they're designed so well.
Absolutely.
Bulletproof.
So I'll give Zoe some time to chat. Zoe, obviously you're very big about winging it. So do you actually look at finances or reevaluate across your multiple kind of streams, like with Muscle Nerds and culture?
I do. But the thing is, like, I have zero. But like I said, like before we jumped on the call, I was like, profit and loss, how to read profit and loss, and then like what is a balance sheet. But like I understand the gist of them. Like I'm not that fucking clueless, but I don't use them. So what I do is I prefer, and I'm like a paper and pen person, right? Like I don't like technology as much. I just know everything. I need it to be in front of me. So every week I jump on our online banking, like our bank accounts, and I run reports for debits and credits, and I literally just go through them. And so I total it, and I'm like, sweet, I'm in the red, or sweet, I'm in the black. Whatever.
You do like a classic reconciliation.
Yeah, like I just do it manually because when I look at reports and
time is money, Zoe. Time is money. You can't be doing that.
Yeah, but I enjoy it.
Oh, so this is your
Like,
downtime.
I
This is your
like to
downtime.
know-
You get home and you go, let's just go through some
Yeah.
finances.
No, but I
Oh.
like, I don't like how it's grouped into categories. Like I want to know like what, because we've got a lot of systems we use. So we've got like a lot of subscriptions. I like to see what Luke is buying without me not like putting fucking groceries on the credit card. Like, is that, oh, I didn't have my personal card on me, so I put it on the business card. But no, I like to see like actually what is being paid and where the money is going, and it just gives me a really good overview.
Yes, link it all up to your phone, and he can't use the excuse of forgot his card anymore.
No, I've done that. No, he's fucking like it's these. That's the hardest part of my job. But that's why we need to do a series on business partners. So you guys can talk about your experience, and I can talk about working with your husband.
Yeah, okay, let's do that next. We'll do
Yeah.
in a month's time. We'll go talk about business partners. If you're keen to jump onto that one, Corey.
Oh,
Yeah, I'll have plenty to talk about.
you got a story, right? Yeah. And honestly, no, it takes me like 20 minutes, like if that, to be honest. Like we don't have a lot of incomings and outgoings. Like I prefer doing it that way. But this is
15 seconds. 15 seconds.
No, he's not gonna read it. But no, I went through, like, I pulled a profit and loss for the year to date. The first time I've ever done, like, well, not the first time, but usually at the end of financial years, we go through this with our accountant. But I just pulled one for the sake of this, and I was like, man, our wages are way too high. Like, I'm going to pull them back, though. But I put Luke and myself on our salaries. Like, we pay ourselves a wage for visa reasons to get him in the country because he's from Texas. Otherwise, I wouldn't pay myself. Well, I would just pull money when I needed it. I'd rather it's sitting in the business for now, but we have to have a minimum amount before we can apply for the visas we need to. So be it.
Yeah, fair enough. And I think I looked into that as well because I had a trainer. She came on board and she was from Ireland, and her visa was running out, and she goes, "Can you sponsor me?" I was like, "Let's look up how much this costs." I was like, "No." It's ridiculous. Like to actually sponsor someone to come into the country to work for you is actually like around the average wage of of employee in Australia. Like I think it's like 54 grand minimum, isn't it?
And I think they're like, oh, so we're not bringing him through a work visa. He's too old.
Okay.
So we, what was I about to say with that? Oh, it's gone. Sorry. No, it's gone.
That's right. Yeah, and so yeah, but she was our best salesperson because she was just we had a bunch of people in our facility, and I ran a bit of a unique system where they were kind of contractors, but they were kind of employees. So we came up with contracts and agreements that I paid them like employees, but it's per client still. It's not actual. Here you go per shift or anything. You have the client, you work your hours you want, you get a key. And this girl, she'd only had a Cert 4, but she was really quick to learn things, and you can have some really great Cert 4 trainers. So we kind of trained her up like a exercise scientist to work around things, and when you give her information, she'd take it on straight away, and she was our best seller. But my business partner actually rang up and said, "Look, we've got to get rid of Jess. She's not a degree qualified person." I was like, "It doesn't matter. Like, she's our best salesperson." And Jess heard in the background, and she had a bit of a quick to fire up kind of person in the background. She's like, "Get fucked," and just walked out the door. I was like, whoa. I was like, Jess. So,
managing people, that's another fucking series to have.
I got to write these down actually. So managing people and business partners are the two we've got to run.
I'm lucky. I've got good staff. I've got great staff, so I'm very lucky.
Yeah, so do we. That comes with it's just I guess it's just we've got really, really, really good staff. We've got really loyal staff. We've got staff that understand we're a small business. And it's just the way you like it's a whole new skill set to have to learn is how to manage down. Like I can manage up, no problem. I've managed up my whole career, but managing down is completely different. And the way you just communicate with everyone is different because people respond to things completely different. And it's just picking up those cues and understanding, oh God, I don't know. Having that friendship authority as well is I found difficult, like not crossing that line between having those personal relationships and then the work relationships. And there's just a lot. There's a lot to it.
It depends on the person as well. Like when I was actual manager for a gym. I was Griffith University fitness centers. I was the first person to go from casual all the way up, progress through different ranks and become a gym manager. And so I'd worked with this guy for a few years, and when I became gym manager, he hated authority. And so he just wouldn't listen to things I'd tell him to do. I'd rock in, I see him letting people in for free and stuff like this, and have a chat to him. And then I wanted to fire him, and my business manager didn't like firing people. He goes, have you done everything you possibly can? Absolutely. And he finally went away on holiday, and he come back and go, I'm ready to get my shifts back. I was like, everyone has your shifts. He goes, yeah, but I'm back. I was like, so? Yeah, and he abandoned the friendship. I was like, business is business, but like, you got to understand, like, we can be mates outside of it. He goes, I thought we were friends. I was like, mate, like, you're letting the business down. Yeah, exactly right. So
I've been listening to the book. I can't remember what it's called. Oh, How to Be Less Stupid. And I like how he says in it, he's like, my employees don't have to beg for their wage. I shouldn't have to beg for them to do their job. So like, if you're just around like chasing shit up, it's like, this isn't the agreement.
Exactly. And that's the one thing, like before let Corey speak, is when I was a manager, is as long as you give someone a role to do, and that's what I did. I believe I did best in management, was if you give them a role, they take that on board, they feel more included. And and that guy just didn't want to do anything. So and same as when I ran my own facility, is giving people a role to do when they feel like they're actually part of that business. Like we ran for Queensland University of Technology education sessions for any student. They could actually come in from sport and exercise in the middle of our day when we had nothing on, and we just run sessions like how to do RM testing or stuff like that. So it was actually free education. So, but that got the word out quite a bit for people to actually come in and I loved it. But what were you going to say, Corey?
I was going to say, I'm actually an athletic coach at 1:30 my time, so I've got to sort of take off. But I just want to say, I guess, thanks for organising this. But like, going back to the finances, the biggest thing someone can do is just catch up with somebody who's done it. Because you can save yourself a lot of time and effort from making some serious mistakes. And I made a lot early on, and especially financially, like just stupid investments that you think at the time are going to generate lots of revenue, which end up generating no revenue. And just I guess for us, it's just there's a lot of subscription costs, like your Zeros, like MindBody. Like we use MindBody, we use just your insurance. Insurance alone is like $8,000 a year. Like, so that's $8,000 people don't sort of think about. So, but look, I just want to say thanks for organising it, and I've got to shoot.
Thanks for coming on board. So, Zoe, stay on for a second. I want to have a chat to you about your stuff. So, okay, cool, awesome. But thanks for joining us, Corey. So,
no worries.
Chat again.
See you guys.
See ya.
And so you go, Zoe.
The only thing I kind of wanted to wrap up with is, so like I said before, I just ran my profit and loss for the year, and it's comparing it to the last 2 financial years. And we've had pretty decent growth, right? Like our growth of revenue and our growth of expenses has kind of grown like that. But it looks like our profit has declined. So it's like growth isn't always a good thing. So for example, in 2018, our profit was 167,000. We then had a 60% increase in business and revenue and stuff for 2019, and our profit was down to 137,000. This year we've had even a bigger increase in our profit. It's sitting at the moment at 30,000. So it's just like, what's the point? Why don't we just go back to it just being a smaller team and bigger profit, but less revenue and less expenses? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like you look at this and it's like, but I know that our goal, our purpose isn't money. Like our goal is
absolutely.
We're reaching more people this way. But when you kind of like, I guess you've got to consider like, what does growth mean to you, right? Like, is it just more money coming in, or is it actually better profit? And it should probably be better profit.
yeah, absolutely. And I'm just writing that down. Like, what does growth mean? I think it's a great point to kind of bring up, because it's exactly that, right? So just because you have profit doesn't mean you're growing. And and this is kind of how, if you look at how banks operate, and banks still go, oh, we're not making profit, we're in negative growth. I was like, no. You're still growing. You just haven't got that profit. Like,
it hasn't put up yet.
Although they're making billions of dollars still. You're like, oh, we've gone down $1 billion.
Yeah,
no, $1 billion in profit. You're still making another like $20 billion on top of that in profit. Like,
I think you can also argue like our growth is now we're reaching more coaches, we have more students in our network, we're making a bigger impact. So yeah, it's just, but then I mean, there's going to be a point if we keep trending in the way we're trending. It's like in another year or two, if we keep going this direction, it's going to be like we're going to be in the hole.
Yeah.
So I guess it's something to be mindful of. Like just because your revenue is increasing, I suppose just be mindful of the expenses that are increasing with it.
I think it's a good point to bring up particularly. And your case is kind of unique because you started online basically.
So we were lucky,
So you had like no overheads, and now you've actually bought a gym, a massage facility basically. Clinic.
Yeah, we've kind of grown as our finances have. So we didn't set up with a big outlay, like a huge, and then have to make it work. It was kind of, we started with nothing, but we just adjust. Like the more money we had coming in, the more we grew from there, and we grew with demand. So it was like, what do we need? As opposed to what do we want to do? Like what are people asking for? Like what's the demand? Okay, cool. We're in a position. We've got people asking for it. Let's add another coach on because we've got so many inquiries for training, or let's add another education course because we've got people asking. So we're kind of, like I said in the first time we spoke, we've just been really, really reactive, but it's worked in our favor.
Yeah. And now you're pretty much looking to go for the inverse parabola for profit. Yeah. Please don't keep on going.
Now that we've taken control of like what we want to offer, it's like, that was the best thing to, maybe we'll just keep letting the people demand.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I want to have a quick chat to you after we stop recording though, but just about your new place.
Yes.
But my kind of, although I've kind of jumped in here and there because Tim had to duck off, Matt had to jump off, but my parting advice is similar to them. It's just always checking and having a chat to people in business first before you actually get involved in it. Because just because you hear these stories and people going, it's so tough in the private industry, you do get to sleep better than having that insecurity around your jobs because you know what you're actually in control of, really. So
and it's like you don't really go into this as a moneymaker. If you're in it for just like huge margins, you would choose another industry. You're actually in it as long as you've got that passion and you get to help those people. Like I know they spoke earlier about training athletes versus Gen Pop. Like there is no amount of money and there's no kind of athletic feat that can replace when you help like an overweight mother lose weight and have a better quality of life. Like
absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like that's what we're doing. What we're doing it for, what I'm doing it for, and I'm sure almost other people, is just changing lives. So
if you wanted to make money, you wouldn't be a coach.
Yeah, I know that sounds cliche, and it's just like you're saying, but it's true. I mean, you would not be in this industry if you didn't want that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's true. When I was like I think, what was it, Tim? No, Matt. Matt was saying. Sorry, how was saying here, you've got the Instagram booty people that are making like a lot of money. I wouldn't even consider that the health and fitness. I'd consider that like the beauty industry.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, because if you're judging everything on how you look, that's definitely not health and fitness.
They just, it becomes about like active wear lines, and it's just all image. So
yeah, absolutely.
How much health there is and how much
just because you got abs doesn't mean you're healthy.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. But thanks for joining for this chat.
Welcome.
And just going to stop recording now. So thanks to everyone that did join. We've got 0 people left now, but there's a small one.
Watch the recording.
Yeah, absolutely.